Alright, let's continue building on this drawing since we already have a lot done, and it would be a shame to start over. By building two windows. Let's build one of the windows here since we've got room. Let's make it a little bit shorter than the doorway, just for fun's sake. Here's the bottom of the doorway. Again, this is the left wall. It's subject to the right vanishing point. Like this. Here's the top of my window. I decide how wide to make it. Let's not quite extend it all the way to the back corner. Here's my first door. Alright, now let's divide this door into 4 even panes. So this is tricky. We're no longer in one-point perspective. In one-point perspective, what did we do? If you guys remember, we had a window that looked like this. What was the process? We found a zigzag that determines the center. We drew a vertical line, and then this line is an orthogonal line. That'll give us a window with 4 even panes. So the question is, this is how you do it in one-point perspective. How is it done in two-point perspective? Exactly the same way. So you're going to make a zigzag. Find the center. Find the center. That's going to give you the vertical division and the orthogonal division, except now we need to decide which way the vanishing point goes, which way the orthogonal line goes. Well, this window is sitting on the left wall. It's subject to our right vanishing point, which means that an orthogonal division will also be subject to the same vanishing point. So now we have a window with 4 even panes. Many of the techniques, in fact most of them, that you learned in one-point perspective will directly apply to two-point perspective or three-point perspective, which we're not going to cover. Thank God. Reinforcing the visible lines. This becomes increasingly important two-point perspective because we have almost twice as many measuring lines, construction lines in two-point perspective. Okay, now let's build a window on this wall. It doesn't have to be the same size as this one. In fact, it shouldn't be. Let's make our window, this is going to be a little bit long for me. Let's say, I don't know, for you guys, let's make it 3 inches. Let's just make it really easy. Let's make sure that line is vertical. Okay, so make this 3 inches, or something that's easily dividable by 3. So 6, for instance, right? Okay, up. Look, I almost lined this up on the wrong point here. Okay, so bottom of the window is subject to the vanishing point on the left. This way. And here's the top of my window. It is also subject to the same vanishing point. You decide how deep to make the window. You are the interior designer in this drawing. Okay, now we're going to construct a window with 9 even panes. You remember how to do it in one-point perspective. We found 3 even increments. We drew them to our vanishing point. We ran a diagonal across to find the vertical divisions. Exactly the same here. Here's one division. Here's the second division. Okay, it's lining up with the horizon line. Not an issue. All right, so we already got this one. Let's get this one. Okay, so again, this one just so happened to line up with the horizon line. If yours doesn't, it's going to look a little bit different. Not an issue. How do we find our vertical divisions? By running a zigzag. So I'm going to just mark off the increments here. Again, by limiting your construction lines, you eliminate the probability of confusion. Here is a window with exactly 9 even panes. Even method, odd method of grid construction. I'll show all of you a few more. There's quite a number of different ways of creating grids, but these are the two easiest, and they work for both 1 and 2 point perspective. Okay, this is basically review. Most of this should be review, the grid construction. Now, let's build a figure on this side of the room and place it somewhere else. Let's place it maybe over here somewhere. Let's place the figure's head here. I'm gonna give him a little cone. Your figure design, up to you. But draw a little character that looks kind of, sort of like this. Make sure his head extends a little bit above, or significantly above, your horizon line. So there's my character. Look, you don't have to make him anatomical. Doesn't matter. Okay. So, there's my figure. He's standing here. And let's place him... Where should we place him? Let's place him right here. Like this. So, all of you guys mark off an X where this guy buried something. You decide what. A treasure. Alright, now we're going to move this figure around the room and figure out how tall he needs to be if he's standing right here. You know what? I made a mistake. If he's standing right here, he's going to be the same height. So let's place him a little bit closer to us. Let's make him right about here. You guys understand, right? If he just walks over, not that he can in 2 point perspective, but he's going to be the same height. That's going to be a waste of our time calculating his height. Okay, so he's going to be standing here. Don't line up the X exactly on the same horizontal. Place him a little bit closer. Okay. In 2 point perspective, there are travel restrictions. Our character really technically cannot move across like this. He can either move back in space towards the right vanishing point, or forward towards the right vanishing point, or he can move along the left vanishing point. So our character could either move forward, 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 forward. Then, at this point, switch directions and move the other direction. Or he can move backward, 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 backward. Then, at this point, switch directions and move towards the X. So, as with 1 point perspective, it's very important to establish the footpath first before moving the figure around. Let's take a look. First, I need to draw a line that represents our figure's position in the room. So draw a vertical line, make sure it's perfectly vertical, please, that runs through your character's body, and here is where our character is, right there. Alright, now let's build a footpath. Line up your ruler with VPL, the bottom of your character, and draw a line going out, 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 like this. Okay, now I need to figure out where the character needs to stop and change directions. Let's line up our ruler with the X, not this one, let's get rid of this one. Line up our ruler with the X and see where it goes. Okay, do you see that our character has been forced to leave our drawing? Not good. Not good. So, if your character is leaving the drawing, don't use that particular footpath. In fact, depending on where you place the X, sometimes it's going to go completely off your paper here. Let's not use that footpath. Let's use the other possibility where I'm moving my character back this way and then changing directions. Hopefully that makes sense. There's 2 ways to go. One path leads to confusion, right? We've got distortion here. Again, sometimes I'm lucky enough that it actually stayed on the paper. Quite often, for many of you, it might even leave the paper. Let's go the other direction. So we're going to start by moving our character back towards the corner. This way. And now I need to get the intersection where does my character need to stop and change directions? Right here. Okay, so here is our footpath. Once we have the footpath, this one, let's figure out how tall the character is at this intersection. We're going to line up our ruler with the top of the character, draw a line going back towards the corner, this way. Now we know that our character is getting smaller along these two lines. Here, we're going to figure out how tall the character is at the intersection by drawing a vertical line. Like this. This is how tall our character needs to be at the intersection. Draw a second character. I'm not going to make this guy quite so detailed. Okay, here's our next character. Let's give him some hands. Okay, so that's the height of our second character. Now let's project the height of our second character forward using our other vanishing point, our VPL. Let's do it. We already know how long he is when he's going this way. All we need is the top. Line up your ruler VPL, the top of our character's head, and draw a line going out this way. Okay, so a little bit confusing. We've got the top of the window, but our character is getting larger, 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 larger. And then at the X, draw a vertical line. Let's make sure it's actually vertical though. Here's a vertical line. Let's make it a little bit thicker so you guys can see it. That's the height of our character if he was standing at the X. So similar method to projecting the figure in one-point perspective. Similar, but not quite the same. Okay, so notice that his chin is lined up with the horizon line here. His chin is going to be doing exactly the same thing here. It's going to be slightly larger. Here's his height. Oh, did I draw it all the way up? I don't know why I did. Okay, here's his height here. Like this. Let's give our character a little more detail. He's larger, he's closer to us. Here is our next character, standing closer to us. Thumbs up. Okay guys, so similar principles to one-point perspective, similar tricks, a little bit of an added complication because of our vanishing points, but really not that much more complicated. Alright, so we're done with drawing indoors. Let's go outside and draw some exteriors. Let's draw some buildings, and we'll learn some additional tricks when we get there.